Hello.
Everybody.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome. We are coming to you at our normal time, 7:30 on a Wednesday this week. I
What a
know we've been a
shocker.
little all over the board this summer, but here we are at our normal time slot for the real football fans of New Jersey. This is episode 211. We are in mid-July, people.
And it is hot, people.
You can smell football right now. It is right around the corner. We've got lots of good things in the world of Housewives going on as well. Some breaking Housewives news that happened this week. That was a big one. So this is going to be a really good show tonight. And we are kicking it off with some questions. We asked you guys to send us your questions on our social media platforms. And we have 5 that we are going to tackle here. And this first one, speaking of tackling, is football related, and it is fantasy football related. So again, we said probably towards the end of this month into August, we will start with our fantasy football coverage. But here we go. We've got a question that just already brings us to it. So if you could only recommend one New York Giant player for fantasy football, who would it be?
Oof. I'm going to play it safe on this one. And I'm just going to go with Graham Gano. Great kicker. I've had him on my team and he seals the deal. I'm hoping that the Giants score more, actual touchdowns this year and really get in the end zone. But he's very good. He can kick a really long field goal too. And he's very reliable. So
Consistent.
I like,
Doesn't miss much.
So it's interesting though, because I was talking with someone recently about fantasy and, when you're a commissioner, you can create new rules and stuff. And this league was actually proposing if you miss an extra point, it doesn't go against anything. But so this league was proposing if you miss an extra point as a kicker, your team loses a point there. So I thought that was interesting. And with I feel like these kickers have been missing some extra points lately. So I thought that was a very interesting. I wouldn't want that rule personally. I like the cheap points that you get. So,
well, you guys know, I've said it before. Last year was my first year playing fantasy. And in my specific league, the commissioner had the kickers point-wise. Justin Tucker could land you 50 points. They were valued so high that I've been joking all off season with our commissioner saying I'm going to draft Justin Tucker in the first round if this is going to be the point system for kickers.
Why not?
So Graham Gano would honestly, I'm going to say no one. Gun to my head, twist my arm, make me pick someone. It's probably going to be Graham Gano. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is going to be a player that's selected in fantasy football. I'm not recommending him just because he always goes much earlier than what I would recommend.
And we didn't recommend him last year.
Obviously, you're going to have him in fantasy. Someone's going to have him. I just don't like how early he gets drafted. And then, me saying nobody, I'm okay with people taking Giants players, but I think their value is super, super late in your draft. And I'm talking like a Kenny Galladay, I'd probably say is if you have a couple of picks left, he's not a bad wide receiver to stash on your bench.
Right.
So I'm not really big on any Giants players for fantasy, but Graham Gano, and then I'd say a Kenny Galladay late.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, what are your thoughts on Housewives trading cast members similar to free agents in the NFL?
That's funny because I guess I think of it if you think of a Housewives season, maybe it's shitty and you're getting rid of a couple of members. You just bring in brand new people, but brand new to Housewives in general. So I think this question's interesting because what if you bring in someone from another successful franchise? What if New York and New Jersey did some swaps? What if Orange County pulled someone from New York or New Jersey? I think it's a really interesting concept because they are professionals in their franchises, are getting paid to do what they do. So are NFL players. And trades happen all the time there. So I think it's funny. I think it's interesting. I think it would be funny to see.
Let's dive into that world right there. What you said about New York and New Jersey. Imagine if we had Ramona Singer on New Jersey during the time when she leaked Teresa's wedding invite. Imagine seeing that being broken down on an episode.
And that's like perfect. And that's like when you see like things happen in the NFL, like for example, you're seeing the Browns and the Panthers happened to be playing each other the first game, and all this stuff went, you know, it just all happened in our favor for the NFL. If that were to happen with Housewives, we'd be like, oh, Bravo was scheming. They knew something was going to happen. But I just think it's so interesting. You know, these franchises are coming from big money too. Would money be in play? Would we see how much Ramona got traded to New Jersey for? So I think it's a really hilarious concept. So
yeah. Question number 3. Who is someone you want to meet the most if you go to this year's BravoCon?
Ooh, we got to start thinking about our costumes too. We also have to find out if they're doing one-day sales, because Friday
we have to like hope that we can get tickets. It's honestly one of those things where it sells out extremely quickly, and it's just like,
I think they're going to do one day because we can't go 3 days.
Yeah, right.
I think that I would really like to meet Dorinda, because it was such a miss last time that like we literally saw her in the window and she was so excited, and then it just didn't happen. Like it was just like, I feel like we met so many people. Obviously we met Luann, which is iconic. But I can't believe that was like 2 years ago. I would really like to meet Dorinda, I think.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. I really want to like package deal these two people, but I would kill to meet Dolores and Frank Catania.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
If I could only pick one, I'd probably pick Frank, but like, like I really want to just like package them together. And I think they would be one of those like celebrities that you meet in real life, and they're so unbelievably pleasant and sweet and nice and engaging, and I feel like they would be such a treat.
Oh, that's all I hear about Dorinda.
Sorry,
not Dorinda. Sorry,
based on what they post on social media. And Frank on Instagram, he reposts a lot of fans' things talking about how much they love him, and then he'll repost it. And like, I just feel like they're very sweet, and they would be very engaging with fans.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. And yeah, it's okay. They can come as a package deal.
All right. Number 4, are the Panthers still a bottom team with Baker at starting quarterback? So obviously in that division of the NFC South, we have the Buccaneers, Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta. Honestly, I feel like we got 3 bottom teams there -1.
Yeah. I mean, my answer is yes, because let him get to Carolina first. I think his plane just touched down 2 days ago. I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks back because someone had asked if this would be a good fit for him. And we obviously, now the news is out there. I think we did say yes, and I do think it is good. I just, like you just said, there's 3 bottom teams there. This division isn't going to change overnight just because Baker Mayfield, flew to Carolina is going to be their starter. I think there's still a lot of changes that need to happen with that team. They couldn't circle around Cam Newton. They couldn't circle around Sam Darnold. You have a question mark with Christian McCaffrey and his health. I do think he's still a stud of a player and is going to do big things for them, but there's so many other question marks. And I just think that it's I don't know, it doesn't like shoot them out into the limelight right away. So
I still think, I think a lot of people would make an argument that New Orleans is the second best team in this division. So you're still technically got Carolina at the bottom half then with Atlanta. And truly, I believe that Carolina and Atlanta both have the potential to be 2 of the worst teams in the league this year. So
absolutely,
that's not going to be completely Baker's fault. I think you could bring in Patrick Mahomes over there. And I think the issue would be is he's got a lot that he needs to cram in before the season starts, as far as learning his brand new playbook, learning a brand new offense, and learning his brand new teammates. It's good that he's got a couple of years in the league under his belt and he's not like a rookie, like trying to just like pick this up super fast, but it is going to be very challenging. And he isn't a Patrick Mahomes. So I do think that, like, obviously he's an upgrade over what they had.
Right.
But he's not going to make, I don't think, that significant of a difference. I do believe this is going to be a team that really struggles. And then last but not least, are we going to Fan Fest this year? Obviously, we went last summer, the New York Giants Fan Fest at MetLife Stadium. So much fun. You get to kind of watch the team practice. It's just a thing to feel excited about football and get ready for the season. So.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it looks as if Katie and I are not going to be able to go this year. I think, the Giants probably heard a lot of outcries that it was on I think we went on a Wednesday night last year.
Yeah, it was a weeknight.
It is on a Friday. So I think they heard the people. Unfortunately, Katie and I will actually be at a wedding that weekend in New York. So it doesn't look good, everyone. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to swing it in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, camp is open to the public. Maybe we can look at something like that. And then obviously preseason's right around the corner as well, because it's July 13th. Katie said it earlier. We can smell football. It's right around the corner. So don't worry. Obviously, we had fun last year. We loved meeting up with everyone, but there's going to be so many opportunities as we inch closer to the season. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, those were definitely some great questions. As you guys are watching live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitter, go ahead and ask us anything else you have. Let us know your answers to any questions and or your thoughts to the stuff that we go over. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the big stories of the week for football. And we only have one, but hey, it's big and it is historic. So the Las Vegas Raiders make a historic selection for team president. So on Thursday, Las Vegas announced that they hired Sandra Douglas Morgan as their new team president, making her the first Black woman in NFL history to have that role. Her hire comes 2 months after interim president Dan Ventrell left Las Vegas after less than a year on the job. Morgan is a Las Vegas native. She was most recently chairwoman of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. She also previously served on the Nevada Gaming Commission, was director of external affairs at AT&T, a city attorney of North Las Vegas, and a litigation attorney for MGM Mirage. So great resume right here. A lot going on there. So Morgan is also the third woman and third African-American to become president of an NFL team. And she was also the first Black city attorney in the state of Nevada when she served in that role from 2013 to 2016. So congratulations, great, awesome to see this for sure. Again, great resume. And what I love about her resume is that she clearly understands sports. She's living in the Las Vegas area, so it's gaming control, it's all of that stuff. She's understanding all of that. Also a city attorney. So if you're going to be, a team president, in my opinion, I always come out and say, I hate how, the legal system is within the NFL. I don't think they do a good job of suspending people, looking at people, things like that. Listen, if this is just one team and they're bringing on someone with a legal background and a game sports background, that's cool. I think that's what you need for these types of jobs, to really understand the dynamic of the game, how your team is going to be built out and be successful. But then also when issues occur, how are you going to take responsibility for them and how are you going to act on them? So I think her background is very, very good for this role. And again, making history, you love to see that with what I think is a league that might be a little slower in these areas. So
clearly a very strong and powerful woman. This would not be a hiring of anybody who was meek. This, things did get a little messy in Las Vegas over the past year, with John Gruden. Right. They fired Mike Mayock. It's not something easy that she's walking into. No. Their interim president was only there for a couple of months, and then there were issues with that, and he decided to leave. So I'm excited for her. Mm-hmm. I think one of the good things is that as messy as things got, I think Las Vegas has a pretty good squad. They've got playmakers. I was recently looking at rosters today, kind of with the game that we're playing later on. And I was very impressed on both sides of the ball. I was noticing for a handful of teams, and Las Vegas is one of them. So if there's something to be excited about, it is that football team. And I think they're moving in the right direction. And it's going to be exciting if she can, help be a force in that and move in that direction with them. Mm-hmm. So I wish her all the best of luck in this role. It's obviously a huge milestone. And as she probably said, and we always say, hopefully she won't, be the first and only. And this just opens the door and paves ways for other women, for other Black women. And yeah, hats off to her and best of
Absolutely.
luck.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into our big stories of the week in the world of housewives. And as we promised, this first one is a big one. So
It's a doozy, people.
I'm sure, I would think most of Housewives fans have heard about this, but I feel as though we're going to be giving the nitty gritty details here. So the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's Jen Shah has officially pleaded guilty to telemarketing fraud. So this happened on Monday.
Guilty.
She pleaded guilty to defrauding hundreds of victims in a years-long telemarketing scheme. And according to a plea agreement, federal sentencing guidelines for what she did range anywhere from 11 to 14 years in prison. I mean, this is serious, people. So, however, let's keep in mind these guidelines, they are only advisory, and a judge could depart and not give something as severe when he does the sentencing later this year. So as part of the plea agreement, Jen has to pay $6.5 million in forfeiture and up to $9.5 million in restitution. Her guilty plea comes as she was just about to go to trial in federal court in Manhattan. And, Shah, who always, maintained her innocence, did admit to committing wire fraud and offering services with little to no value. Her guilty plea means that she will not stand trial. And she also, this was interesting, she also agreed not to appeal if she is sentenced to 168 months of prison or less, which that comes out to the 14 years.
Right. Yeah.
She will continue to film for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 3. This will obviously be a big, huge part of her story and the franchise's story. And Bravo will basically film her as long as they can. It was kind of like I read one article that compared it to, Teresa and her trial and everything that went on with her. Yeah. It was like some of those things get dragged out for a very long time. And you can go a whole season with somebody before these things come to fruition. And these things are, the judge slams the gavel and it's over and done with.
Well, and Jen Shah's going to need the money too. So she's saying yes to please film my ass.
Oh, yes.
Please. Yeah.
So we knew, I guess when this broke, Caitlin saw it first and she sent it to me and we were both just kind of like, well, what does this mean? Like, really, like what kind of jail time is she facing? Like, and when you break it down and you look at it and you read the articles and you see somewhere along the lines of 11 to 14 years, I don't think it'll be that. Yeah. But I mean, you even cut that and like, even if a judge decides to cut that in half.
Yeah.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. And it's really scary to think about.
It is, but it's just, you think about it and you're like, she probably hired like a very good defense lawyer or tried to find like one of the best ones. And if you have to go out and not take this to trial, probably take a deal and plead guilty, that means they could do absolutely nothing for you. Yeah. Like there's nothing.
This was your best option.
And like, to me, like that is mind boggling. Like so she is 100% guilty. And I do think, well, yes, I understand like these things get dragged out. You brought up the Teresa example, which is a good one of like Bravo still filming. Andy's already come out and like has said, so he's like, he's very upset that like she basically lied this whole past season saying she had nothing to do with it. And he was pretty much like ashamed by it. So, but to what extent, like, Andy, you're still going to get a paycheck at the end of the day for filming her on Salt Lake City.
Also at the end of the day, she's being filmed. She's on television. What the hell do you want her to say? Yeah, like
I did it. No, I get it. Yeah.
Like, obviously, she's going to deny it, but I think it was the extent at which she was denying it and like wanting to cut anybody's throat that said otherwise. Apparently, also I too read that who was it? It was Heather and Meredith who were, I read in an article, by her side when this went like, so I don't know if they were at the courtroom with her. That's kind of how they made it sound. but then that alludes to the fact that, like, I guess her and Meredith are on much better terms now.
Well, yeah, Meredith posted that thing on Instagram like the day before, which now is a spoil. Like, it's a spoiler. Meredith had posted to her story, and it was like, for those of you who don't know, I live in the United States of America, and our judicial system is, guilt or innocent until proven guilty, and that's how things go. And she put like an American flag. I remember it was like a pink background. Then like the day after, or maybe a couple hours after, was when this came out. And I was just like, so she is saying she is by her side. Like, so I don't know. It's just wild to me. And I was just like, what? Like,
yeah, I mean, Heather's obviously always been like
right.
kind of the number one supporter. She's understood like, hey, she needs a friend. She's going through a hard time. I'm not going to leave her side.
Right.
Man, it's going to be I've enjoyed Salt Lake City. I think it's been, with some of these franchises lately that I feel like have been a struggle for me to watch and really enjoy. I feel like Salt Lake City has been really good. And season 3 is, if this is everything that we're going to get, it's shaping up to be another really crazy one. So,
oh boy, well, nothing can top how they started off last season.
No. More Sprinter vans. I hope the only form of transportation for season 3 is they go everywhere in Sprinter vans.
They deserve every type of any award show that's out there. They deserve, I don't care if it's for movie, TV, the like plays, like they just should get all of them, to be honest. It could be the Grammys. They deserve an award. Like the sound people, they can get work for that. Like they just did such a phenomenal job, but nothing will top that. But like you said, it is shaping up. It looks like we're going to get some good stuff this next season for sure.
Yeah.
But more to come on that. We will keep you posted because we are posted up on this. So I'll definitely let you guys know if anything comes out. So our second story of the week comes out of Orange County. So are Tamra Judge and Alexis Bellino going to come back to Real Housewives of Orange County? Because last week, Bravo fired Noella Bergener, I can't pronounce it, and Dr. Jen Armstrong. Thank God. I am so excited about the fact that these ladies are gone from Orange County with 2 open spots. So Raider Online has reported that Tamra Judge and Alexis Bellino could possibly be returning for season 17.
Season 17.
I know.
17
OG. They are the OG.
I know. And to think that they're quickly approaching 2 decades.
Yes.
Or, well, I mean, sometimes they don't get, it hasn't been 20 years, has it been? Started in 2006. So close, getting there.
Really getting there. So several sources have now claimed that Tamra is in serious talks with production and is very close to signing a contract to seal the deal on her return. Alexis has also been approached by producers to come back, and although she hasn't signed on it yet, she is considering their offer. But on the other hand, some might call her a fan favorite, but she is the OG, in my opinion. Vicky Gunvalson has not been asked back, but Gina Kirchengler, I can't pronounce it, and Emily Simpson will both likely return as full-time housewives, with Shannon Bedore and Heather Dubrow. So listen, I think it's really funny because I gave Orange County a chance again because obviously Heather came back. She is my all-star. She is my everything, my all-star housewife. I loved it this season. It was very good. They redeemed it. So the fact that they're kicking 2 people out and I'm still happy, I think is great news. I will take Tamra back. I do. I think there's a missing piece without her there. I'm not a huge fan of Alexis, actually. And I think a lot of people can say that. It's not that maybe not a fan is the wrong phrase. I feel like she never brought anything to the table. So that's why I'm actually surprised that they want to bring her back. So maybe that's why.
Am I wrong to say that, I feel as though Tamra not being on the show anymore, I still feel like she stayed very relevant. Was reading about her, we're seeing her. And then I feel like Alexis, not so much. So I feel like Tamra would not shock me whatsoever if she was coming back. Right. Alexis, that would surprise me a little bit.
100%. You are absolutely correct. I think she started her own podcast. She was being interviewed on what was happening during the season. She was taking to Instagram, to Twitter, not just on events happening in Orange County, but other housewives as well. So, and with that, Vicky was as well, but it makes sense. Like Vicky and Tamara are still best friends. So I think maybe Bravo's like, I don't want to bring both of them back because they had a falling out with Shannon. So they still kind of have that. So they're not like the Tres Amigas anymore. So I think maybe they just bring one of them back and kind of see where.
My gut feeling, by the way, is that Vicky never comes back.
I know, but I must say
never say never in the world of Housewives,
no.
But that is what my gut tells me.
I crack up every time I open like Twitter or Instagram though, and they're talking about Vicky, and obviously they're talking about her most recent like engagement break off, and now she's dating someone new apparently. Yeah. Everyone always like tweets out, Instagrams out like justice for her, like her first husband. So everyone like loved him. And I always crack up because my dad works with him. So like I always think back to that. And my dad loves him as well. Like they're like buddies. So like apparently this guy, and he was like really OG. So like I did watch like Orange County from the beginning, but that 17 seasons. Like that's a very long time ago. For me to like really remember him and like understand, but like it just cracks me up like every time I see that. It's like justice. But apparently, I don't know, Vicky, maybe you should get back with him because people really want you to. I don't think he wants to get back with you. Rumor on the street is that he doesn't, but what would I know? I don't know anyone that's friends with him. But yeah, so I just think that's funny. So we'll see. Again, a franchise that I lost interest in, which I was very upset about, but it drew me back in. So let's see what happens with two quick departures from two new women. See if bringing back two original people will make sense for them. So,
yep. All right. Well, those were our big stories of the week in the world of Housewives. We are going to get into our game now. It is football related, and it is called our non-QB MVP. So this past week, Kevin Patra wrote 2 articles for NFL.com where he predicted non-quarterback MVPs for this upcoming season for every AFC and NFC team. So we're going to give you his predictions, and then we're also going to give you our predictions for non-quarterback MVPs for all 32 teams. Kate, I don't know about you, but I did agree with Kevin on some of them. I tried to get a little creative, and if I could think of someone I thought more or someone like outside the box, I definitely added them as well. But I think I got a good mix of like not going quarterback, which obviously if you include quarterback, most of them are going to be quarterbacks. But this really allowed me to step outside from the quarterback. And I would say I have a pretty good mix of defensive and offensive players. So
yeah, I really tried to put defensive players in there. And it was, like you said, it's funny when we do these games because I think it's like almost like a homework assignment, but it's a good because it like stimulates your brain because you're like, okay, wow, like really like peeling back like on these teams. And I think, you said it very well before with the Raiders. We'll get to it, but I remember when I was looking at the Raiders and then when I was looking at Kansas City, for example, just to compare those two teams, Kansas City's clearly winning games. They are playmakers, but when you look at the names on Las Vegas, you're like, wow, like they've got some guys. So like, what is this season going to come to? I don't know.
Off the top of my head, I want to say Vegas, but I want to say maybe one of the most impressive rosters on both sides of the football, where there were several names I had to consider for MVP, was the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes.
So I really, again, that was Kate and I's dark horse team going into last season. I'll still call them a dark horse this year because they didn't make the playoffs last year. So I'm so high on this team, Kate. I know you're high on them as well. And then, of course, this also opens your eyes to teams that are really lacking in playmakers. And unfortunately, you've got a handful of those as well. So.
And you got to just toss a name out there. So, yep, I definitely agree with you. I had some agreements. I tried to, again, not look at the list beforehand and not really try to spoil it. There's definitely some similarities, but I don't think I'm as creative as I have been in the past. I haven't, this list isn't as spicy as my
I think
other.
I got more creative than I do. So we switched roles here.
I'm rubbing off on you. The spiciness is rubbing off. Some of them are. So they're not, I tried to get creative in some spots, but
Right.
yes.
Well, like I said, Kevin did this in two different articles. He did the AFC and he did the NFC separately. So we are going to start with the AFC, which we're just going alphabetical order here, which means we are starting with the Baltimore Ravens. So Kevin's non-quarterback MVP for the Ravens is tight end Mark Andrews. Obviously one of, the best tight ends in the league right now. Young player, really good. Kate, did you agree with him? Did you go with someone else?
Well, with someone else, and maybe this is my spiciest pick of the evening, but it's not that spicy. But I went with kicker Justin Tucker on this one. Like, come on, guys, come on. I don't know. The Ravens have a huge question mark, in my opinion. So
maybe it's not that spicy, or maybe we're spicy together, because I went with kicker Justin Tucker. Honestly, like, I can't. There are other players to pick, but I just feel like you cannot. I can't stress this enough, how much of a weapon Justin Tucker
oh my God.
and would be for any team. When you're like at the 50-yard line and you can send him out to kick a field goal instead of punting and get 3 points instead of 0, like it's that's the difference between winning and losing. I truly believe over how many seasons he's been with the Ravens, how many wins or losses do they have strictly because of Justin Tucker?
Right, exactly.
So, game changer. All right, the Buffalo Bills, obviously a really great team on both sides of the football. Kevin went with wide receiver Stephon Diggs. Kate, who you have?
I agreed with Kevin on this one. I do have Stephon Diggs here.
So I love Stephon Diggs, and I'm not even saying that this player I think is necessarily better, but he is new with the team, and I feel like he really could make such a great impact for them. I'm going with a veteran presence here in linebacker Von Miller.
Good pick. Yeah.
All right. Cincinnati, we've got a, AFC championship team here from last year. Kevin went with wide receiver Jamar Chase. Kate?
So I'm going wide receiver, but I'm actually going to go with his counterpart in T. Higgins, because I think this season Jamar Chase is a very talented player, and they're a great duo. They really, really are. But teams are going to start to figure out Jamar Chase, and not in a bad way. It's just how people started. It's like when Odell was with the Giants, people started to figure him out maybe later on and knew how to get into his head, knew how to do certain things. So, and Jamar Chase is still very young, obviously. I just think that this might be a good area then for T. Higgins to break out and then add up more points in that area, use him a little bit more to become the MVP in this area.
I think you're right. I think T. Higgins is going to see numbers spike for him, just based on, like you said, Jamar Chase being a defense, their number one focus. I think you can double team Jamar Chase, and I really truly believe that he's still, like, you can't stop him. And I had to agree with Kevin on this one. I'm going Jamar Chase. He's just, this is going to be premature, but he's just got that, like, Calvin Johnson.
I know.
Like, feel to him. He's a big boy. Like, you can put two eyes on him. He's going to be hard to stop. So, all right. Cleveland Browns. Kevin went with running back Nick Chubb.
You know what? I'm going to go defensive on this one. I am going with Myles Garrett here. Not my favorite human being. Actually, surprised he was my favorite human being in the world. And then he became my least favorite human being. Talent obviously is still there. And for Cleveland, I don't care how good Nick Chubb is. I don't care how good a receiver could be for them. Like, offensively, I just have a huge question mark for them going into everything that's happening right now. And I think the defense is really going to have to drag them along. And Myles Garrett is going to do that. He's going to be the guy making the plays for the Cleveland Browns in this 2022 season.
Yeah. I was super close to going with Myles Garrett. I did agree with Kevin on this. I went with Nick Chubb. Obviously, I know that Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs in the league, but I almost sort of forgot that he finished second in rushing yards last year. And I think the reason I forgot is, like, I know he's up there, but, like, he have those numbers splitting, like, not splitting 50-50, but sharing running back duties with Kareem Hunt, who is a very talented running back on his own. And so to put up the numbers that he does, to me, knowing that you also have Kareem Hunt and he's getting touches too, is super impressive.
Right.
Okay, the Denver Broncos. Kevin went with safety Justin Simmons.
Let's call it a comeback. Let's see what Jerry Jeudy can do this season. That's who I'm going with. So wide receiver Jerry Jeudy.
Okay, I went defensive like Kevin did, but I did not pick Justin Simmons. I picked a player that I'm really high on. I think he's going to be a fantastic player in this league for many, many years. I went with quarterback Patrick Surtain.
I do. Yeah. Obviously, a Bama boy. Patrick Surtain is very talented.
So talented.
I'm ready to see him explode. I think he had a very I think he had a conservative season last year. He had some exciting things to watch. Like I said, though, I'm ready for that explosion, and I'm really happy you picked him because I think the talent is there, and I'm excited to watch it.
Okay, this might be our team that is potentially lacking the most talent here. We're talking about the Houston Texans, and Kevin went with offensive tackle Laramie Tunsil. Kate?
Well, yeah, lacking. That's why I went with a rookie. Went with one of my Bama boys. Went with John Mechie III. So he's a wide receiver. So I was so mad that the Giants didn't take him because they were right there with Houston. Yeah. But listen, talented kid. Obviously, had a really bad injury going into, going into that latter half of his senior season or junior season with Alabama. But really explosive player, really good. Like you just said, not much really going on in Houston. Can he be their standout guy? I think so. So
Houston wasn't the only team last year that didn't have Pro Bowlers. There were other teams as well, but they were one of them. They're lacking talent. They really are. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to agree with Kevin here and go with Laramie Tunsil. I mean, honestly, you have Davis Mills at quarterback. Like, you need protection there. They're only going to be able to go as far as, and I, to be honest with you, I think I have a decent amount of offensive linemen. I think being a Giants fan and missing a good offensive line for what feels like forever now has put into perspective just how utterly important good offensive line is. So that's a reason I'm going with Laramie as well, and the reason why I have more offensive linemen on my list as we go further. All right, Indy, we've got running back Jonathan Taylor.
I agreed with Kevin on this one.
How could you not? Jonathan Taylor is an absolute beast. Mm-hmm. Could make arguments potentially, at least on my end. I feel like there's Derrick Henry. There's so many others. He could potentially be the top back in the league. What he did last season was remarkable.
Yep.
All right, Jacksonville. Kevin went with defensive end Josh Allen.
I went with Josh Allen as well. Jacksonville, another team where you kind of look at. I looked at their unofficial depth chart. I'm looking at other play. It kind of scratched my head. It was kind of sad. Like, I know these depth charts are unofficial, but there was a lot of white space in them. Like, they don't really have a lot of, like, they're still, like, I know I said this for two other teams, like, question marks, but like on paper, Jacksonville actually has literal question marks. Yeah. So I had to agree. And Josh Allen is a hell of a player. So I really had no argument with agreeing here. So
my heart will always yearn for this guy to be on the Giants. We passed on him, or we didn't get him in his draft. And then he was obviously a free agent. So he is new to Jacksonville. And I think the world of him. I went with another offensive lineman in Brandon Sheriff.
Oh, it's a good pick.
I've always loved him. I've always died for him to have been a New York Giant. Yeah. And I think he's going to be great for Jacksonville. Very jealous of them having him. Yeah. All right, Kansas City, obviously a star-studded roster here. Kevin went on the defensive side of the ball. He went with defensive tackle Chris Jones.
I went offensive, and I went with tight end Travis Kelce because
Chris Jones is amazing, but
yes,
Travis
You're still in a league with 5 tight ends that are good, and he is the one. Like,
but I want to throw out tight ends. Travis Kelce is one of the best football players across the board.
I agree.
In the NFL, and it has to be him.
Yes, it's funny. This is like not just a talented athletic player. I was I saw something earlier and I didn't comment on it because I don't want it to come bite me in the ass later. But like Larry Fitzgerald was commenting on Kyler Murray with just how athletic he was, and everyone's just gonna like, in a couple years, like be like, oh, I was so wrong about him and like all this stuff. And like this kid understands things that you can't see. He's so dynamic, all this stuff. And like, if you were to like say that same statement and like, we're like, yes, it's Travis Kelce, I'd be 100%. This guy is a monster. He's up and down the field. He's just a true solid athlete and could do literally anything that you need him to do. It's not like a great comparison, but I just saw that today about Kyler Murray. And I was like, what? Like when we're talking about like the greats of the greats, like you said, throw tight end out the window, but you just talk about Travis Kelce being a phenomenal freaking football player. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's move to Las Vegas here because we did sing their praises. We did say that they had a very talented roster. And Kevin is going with a new addition to the Las Vegas Raiders with wide receiver Davante Adams. Now, with such a loaded roster, it might be hard to stray from his pick. Did you go with him or did you go with someone else?
I did stray from the pick because I thought it was almost like an easy kind of cop-out pick. I still need to see Davante Adams within that, environment. Great player, obviously. I went with defensive end Max Crosby. I love what he's doing for the team. I love that defensive power for the Raiders. I love a good defensive player on any team making those plays, and he is that guy. So I definitely had to go with him here.
I was a cop-out. I went with Davante Adams. He's obviously one of, if not the best wide receivers in the league right now. And
cop-out's the wrong phrase. I get it.
I definitely on some obvious ones went differently, but Davante Adams, like you could argue, well, he's going to a new team and he's got whatever. He's going back with his college quarterback. So, I mean, look what he did with Aaron Rodgers. You could be like, well, now he's going to be with Derek Carr. Well, Derek Carr's a talented quarterback as well. And they already have years worth of connection. So I think it's just going to be magic for Davante Adams and Derek Carr in Las Vegas.
Something to look forward to for sure.
All right. Speaking of the other, loaded roster we talked about, the Los Angeles Chargers, Kevin went with defensive end Joey Bosa.
Yeah, and honestly, the Bosa family they're a breeding ground of phenomenal players within the NFL and really scary individuals. But I just that was another one for me. I felt like was an easy pick to make. But I think mine is probably easy too, because I went with running back Austin Eckler. I mean, it's just such a talented force on that team, doing really good things for them. Not only, racking up the yards, racking up his touchdowns as well, and just doing a good job. So, yeah.
This might be our first team here where you, Kevin, and myself all have different players.
All right.
That exactly shows why you're so high on this team, because there's even more people than our three that you could plug in here. This was one of the, if not the best free agent available this offseason, and the rich just got richer. They snagged him. I'm going with cornerback J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
That's huge for them. That could take them. Well, first off, I think they will be a playoff team regardless. And
let's hope so.
Last year. But that takes them, to me, solidifies, they've got the squad. Not only should they be in the playoffs, they should make a running at the Super Bowl. So this team is nuts. But let's talk about another new addition, another new face for the Miami Dolphins. Kevin went with wide receiver Tyreek Hill.
I'm going with Tyreek Hill as well. He's an animal. He's a literal animal. So
cheetah. All right, the New England Patriots. I feel like this is a team that's lacking a little bit.
It was tough,
to be honest.
Yeah.
We'll see what Bill Belichick can whip up with these boys. But Kevin went with defensive end Matt Judon.
I went with tight end Hunter Henry. I like Hunter Henry. I like him as a tight end. I got to definitely see a little bit more out in New England from him. But yeah, it was one of those ones too where it was kind of sifting through the list, a little difficult to pick. But
I went with Judon. He's like one of their only, possibly their only real like Pro Bowl talented player. So I had to agree again with Kevin on that one. All right, the New York Jets. Kevin said defensive end Carl Lawson.
I'm spicing it up here, going another rookie, and I'm going cornerback Sauce Gardner. Woo woo! See what we got there.
Oh, man. I got saucy too. I went with Sauce Gardner.
God, my spiciness is rubbing off on you because you're picking all of my spice.
I'm sorry. Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, but I believe that the hype is real for this one.
I do too.
And I think he'll definitely have the potential to come in and be Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Jets are going to love him. He's going to be a playmaker right off the bat. So he's going to be fun to watch. All right, Pittsburgh. Kevin went with linebacker TJ Watt.
Could physically not disagree with him.
Yeah, this is one of the ones where you're just like, you got to skip. You don't even look at the rest of the roster. You're like, yep, done.
No, you just got to go move on.
Might be the same for this next one too, but he went with running back Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans.
So I did go with Derrick Henry, but I must say I actually tried to not pick Derrick Henry. And that does a lot for me. I love Derrick Henry. Yeah. I really tried not to, and I really sincerely could not pick him. So
I went with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I tried. This is one I actually really tried not to pick him. This is the thing,
but this is one of those teams where it's like you can add in the quarterback and make the quarterback available to pick. And like Ryan Tannehill's not a bad quarterback, but Derrick Henry is the heart and soul and the star of that team.
You see the Tennessee Titans logo, you think of Derrick Henry. Like it's right away. Bang, bang.
Well, that was the AFC. So very interesting list that we just went through, but let's jump over to the NFC again in alphabetical order, which means we are starting with the Arizona Cardinals. Kevin went with defensive end JJ Watt.
Yeah, and like I think it's great. I love JJ Watt. I'm at a point
with this one.
No, I didn't agree. I'm at a point though in his career where it's not that I don't love him. I'm at a point where I'm just over it, and I think the world should be over it. I think his career is over.
I think there's a lot of better players now, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I went offensively, so I went with running back James Conner. We were so high on him. He did everything for that team last year. And now we're looking at, an offense that we don't really know what's going on. We're looking at DeAndre Hopkins with that question mark and everything like that. James Conner is your guy, Kyler Murray. Like, he is your go-to, and he did everything he could last year for that team. So I got to stick with him.
I was super close to taking James Conner. I absolutely love him. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, honestly. But I'm going, listen, James Conner made the Pro Bowl last year, rightfully so. Glad that he got that recognition. But I also went with another Pro Bowler for the Arizona Cardinals, and I went with safety Budda Baker.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah.
All right. Into Atlanta, maybe a team that's lacking a little bit as well, but Kevin went with tight end Kyle Pitts.
I did as well. I mean, I'm just, had his numbers last year, had a good season despite what Atlanta threw to him, literally and figuratively. I'm hoping that he can make a name for himself down in Atlanta. So
I think he will. I think we're going to see a huge,
such a talented player.
And I went with him. I think Atlanta needs 100%, knows that he needs to be the guy. And I think he will be. So I went with Kyle Pitts as well. All right, Carolina. Kevin went with running back Christian McCaffrey.
So did I. I alluded to this a little bit earlier when we were taking our questions from the audience, with, Baker, does he bring that team up? Like, there's still a lot going on, with molding that team and everything like that. I brought up, not understanding really what Christian McCaffrey is going to do for the team with these injuries and things like that. But to me, when I look at the team end to end right now, you're throwing quarterbacks aside, which I don't even think that would make a difference anyway. He is a playmaker for them. He has been since he stepped on that field. The only real big thing is the injury bug, but for me, it's still the only person that's going to monumentally move the team. So,
okay. One of the better defensive players in the league, one of the best defensive ends in the league, and I have to pick him over Christian McCaffrey just because I can trust that he will play the full season, not get hurt. I am going with defensive end Brian Burns.
Yeah.
All right, Chicago. This is a squad lacking some playmakers here. But Kevin went with wide receiver Darnell Mooney.
I went with running back David Montgomery. So kept it offensive, but kind of like you said, this is the pick of the litter there. So I don't really
Pick of
know.
the litter. I went veteran. He's an old man now almost. I went with defensive end Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
Whew, that's a rough one. All right, Dallas. I hate to admit this. I was very impressed with Dallas's roster.
Yeah.
But you know what? That happens a lot. Like we've always given praise to their
On
roster,
paper,
and then
they
felt
are.
like that roster didn't come to its full potential. So that's always kind of been the issue with Dallas. But
Yes.
man, they're loaded with weapons. Kevin went with linebacker Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and what a player, and what a player for the Giants fans to look at and pull their hair out because we coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I mean, it is what it is. But to see him do well, and I think he really fits in nicely with Dallas. So it really pisses me off. I went defensive though too. That team was who they were last year because of Trayvon Diggs. Like he is a ball snatcher, and there is no better player right now at that position. And I know it's very ballsy to say, but he can just pick you off left and right, and he can read that quarterback like no other. And he is one of the biggest threats on that team. And when I think of Dallas, I know that the Giants doesn't matter when, where, what, are always going to have a tough game against them. I am truly terrified of that team right now because of him. And he is just so like that's all I can say about it. So
I think it's going to be wildly, wildly difficult for the rest of his career for Trayvon to have the numbers that he did last. I mean, for any cornerback in the league,
I think he can do it though, and that scares me. That scares the shit.
It's going to be hard. So I'm going to go MVP. You're not doing a quarterback. I'm going to pick the quarterback of the defense. I am going to go with linebacker, and I am going to go with Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, the Detroit Lions. Kevin threw in a rookie here. He went with defensive end Aiden Hutchinson.
We threw in some rookies, but I didn't pick him.
Yeah.
I went with tight end TJ Hawkinson. I actually really, I wouldn't say I'm high on TJ Hawkinson, but I do like him. And I actually do think
he's one of the better tight ends.
And to see him in Detroit, and to see Detroit, as we've explained time after time, being in games and like potentially could, like, if they ended up winning like 5 of the game, I don't know, they could have been such a different position than they were last year. What are they going to change this year? And I think he is one of the guys that's doing it for them. So
I went back to the offensive line.
Yeah.
I did not go with a rookie, but I went with a young guy who I think is so solid. He was someone I know I was intrigued with for the Giants to potentially take him in his draft. I went with tackle Penny Sewell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's good. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers, because I don't think I've ever seen a team have so many wins with such a depleted, in my opinion, roster.
One of those teams.
As much as I don't want to say this, like, it almost shows how good Aaron Rodgers is, considering how little he has to work with.
Yeah.
So Kevin went with running back Aaron Jones.
I went with Aaron Jones as well.
Yeah. I went with cornerback Jair Alexander.
Okay.
I think Aaron Jones was probably definitely my close second there. But I believe this is a very, very weak roster. And that is not me saying that I think that they're going to be a bad football team. They're still probably going to be a playoff Green Bay Packers. But, maybe this also plays a part into why Rodgers can't get over the hump. He doesn't even win Super Bowl. He can't even get to the
there.
Super Bowl.
Get there. Physically get to
hard.
The Super Bowl.
He's not. I don't think he's working with a lot in Green Bay.
No.
All right. Speaking of Super Bowls, we've got the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. Kevin went with defensive tackle Aaron Donald.
I'm going with your MVP in Cooper Kupp. So, I mean, honestly, it's huge that the Rams were able to take back, Aaron Donald for sure. Because there was question marks, if he didn't come back, would he be retiring, things like that. So good for them. But I'm going to, I've been talking about it for weeks on end because Cooper Kupp's been brought into a lot of our conversations. I'm going to keep riding what I say. Top wide receiver this year, maybe top fantasy pick for some people. And I think he's going to do if the same thing from last year. We're talking about, is it realistic for these players to do the same repeat numbers. He's one of those guys that I think can potentially do it. So
crazy to think that we're doing this game and not taking someone like Cooper Kupp, but it's because you've got defensive tackle Aaron Donald. It's just he's one of the best players in the NFL. I know we were just talking about Travis Kelce, but I'm talking about Aaron Donald. Like,
yeah,
he's in the top 5, and that's with quarterbacks included. So. All right, Minnesota Vikings. Kevin went with wide receiver Justin Jefferson.
I went with Justin Jefferson too. Such a young stud, and really, I'm very much looking forward to watching his career.
Yeah, he's very exciting. He's going to be everybody's fantasy BFF there. People are going to love having him.
Yeah.
I went with him as well.
Kills me that he's an LSU boy, but whatever. We'll get over it.
All right, the New Orleans Saints. Kevin went with cornerback Marshawn Lattimore.
I'm going with new kid on the block with safety Tyrann Mathieu. You know, he is the Honey Badger is clearly
another LSU boy.
I know, but whatever. There's too many in the NFL. I thought there was a lot of Bama boys. There's a lot of LSU boys and a lot of Georgia boys snooping around. So a lot of Georgia boys on the Giants, which pisses me off a little bit. But listen, a force to be reckoned with and to go to a new team after such a successful career in Kansas City. And kind of, you know, I think it just happened organically. No real the bad blood, just going and moving on. And I think it, like, from what I've seen, like, he is excited, he is pumped, and to see a team that could maybe use a little bit of a spark defensively, I think he's going to do big things down there. So I'm very much excited to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, love him. Love Marshawn Lattimore. Actually, here's another one where we have 3 different. I went with running back Alvin Kamara. He's still, one of the top playmakers in the league, and he's, obviously a huge bright spot for them. All right, we're getting to our New York Football Giants here. Very interested to hear your pick. Kevin went with running back Saquon Barkley.
Getting a little spicy.
Every time you've said that, we've both been on the same spice level. So let's hear it.
I went with rookie Kayvon Thibodeaux.
Woo! Okay, we have three different.
Because why not? You know what? Why not? I hope he's the damn MVP.
Yeah. I mean,
quarterbacks included.
Me too. That will mean that he had a phenomenal year. I'm good with that. I went with somebody who is a young player, but at his position is already going to be thrust into, like, you're going to be a veteran presence and you're going to need to help the younger people. And you were underrated, probably our best player last year. I'm going with tackle Andrew Thomas.
Yeah. Just talking shit on the Georgia boys. So talking. If he could do it for the Giants, though, I will take it.
Yes. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles. Kevin's going with newcomer wide receiver AJ Brown.
Yeah, and I think it's a good pick. I think I'm still very kind of questionable with certain new people coming into. Obviously, I have picked newcomers. Certain newcomers into certain teams, I still kind of have the question mark for, and this is one of them. So that's why I went with Devontae Smith on this one. He already has a year under his belt. Yep. Has the connection with Jalen Hurts. Let's see, what he can do in his second season. I think he's going to be one of those sophomore years that very explosive, very exciting to watch. So
I think he had a good rookie year that was kind of overshadowed by some other rookie wide receivers.
Yeah.
But he did have a really
very
good
talented
season, and I think I could see him taking a step up for sure in his sophomore year. I am continuing to give love to the offensive line with one of the best offensive lines in the league. I went with tackle Lane Johnson. They have a good line. It sucks. Dallas and Philly always have good lines, and we've been just dying for one for as long as I can remember.
Maybe we're there in like 2. I don't know. Whatever.
San Francisco 49ers. I feel like they had a handful of guys to choose from, but Kevin went with offensive tackle Trent Williams.
And so did I, because we actually spoke about him an episode or 2 ago. So I definitely loved picking him for this one, because again, one of the definitely top offensive, he's the top paid, but talent-wise, definitely one of the top linemen in the NFL. So all power to you. And you need it in San Francisco when you are still don't know who our quarterback is going into.
For sure. Caitlin, I went with your boo. I went with defensive end Nick Bosa. So obviously,
speaking of my boo, he had a girlfriend. I don't know if he does anymore. So I don't know.
We're getting spicy this episode.
So hope Chris isn't watching.
Let's talk about Seattle. Same division here as San Fran. Let's talk about Seattle. I think there might be lacking a little bit as well. Yeah. Kevin went with wide receiver DK Metcalf.
And I went with his counterpart, excuse me. I went with Tyler Lockett on this one. Yeah. So
Tyler Lockett is one of my most underrated players in the NFL.
Yeah.
Doesn't get enough love and recognition.
Yeah.
I went on the defensive side of the ball. I went with safety Quandre Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tampa Bay. Kevin went with wide receiver Mike Evans.
So did I. Another, a very talented team. We always talk about them bringing back all their players too, which is like unheard of, bringing back every single person. Obviously this season, isn't the case, missing some people, but to still have such that strong talent for a team that's taken you so far in the past, 3 to 4 seasons, that's pretty impressive. And he's just that one guy that just stands out over and over. So it was very hard to be against him in this one.
Yeah. In this game, if, like I said it before, if we can't take a quarterback, if you've got one of the top linebackers in the league, then I'm taking the quarterback of the defense, and I went with Shaq Barrett here.
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, we have our Washington Commanders. And Kevin went with wide receiver Terry McLaurin.
I did with as well. I think right now, I'd love to pick a guy like Chase Young. I think that would be a no-brainer. I think coming off the injury, I just don't know. And obviously wide receiver Terry McLaurin was, big for them last year. And I think, just if we're looking on what I saw, what we can see next season, I think it was a safer option there.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Chase Young is just a different breed. He's a different animal. Really horrible injury, but I do feel that he will bounce back.
Okay.
And before that injury, he was almost more than all the 31 other teams where your young defensive player, he was your guy. He was your best player. He was your star.
Well, that's what we were saying. I mean,
everything to them. And I think he will come back. And I think he will still be everything to this team. The main focal point, I went with defensive end Chase Young.
Well, it's so funny that you say that. And now but I think it's still where my head is at. When they had introduced their new colors and their new name, all their stuff, I had made the argument on this show, and I made the argument on my Twitter too, that they had 2 guys, and I forget which players they were, with their faces showing, helmets off, whatever. But Chase Young had his helmet on, kind of bent over. And I was like, he is your
focal point.
He is your team. You need to really prop him. So I 100% agree with you on that part. I think just when we're really looking at MVP, just coming off of he's MVP long-term for me. I think just going into this next season, I still kind of had that red flag up just a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, what a game. And honestly, like I had said earlier, you're doing these assignments, you're doing your homework, but it really, it just kind of tickles your mind, and you really got to look at it and see okay, these teams are very dynamic, and or some of them have absolutely really nothing to go off of. So always good to do these for sure. So let's go ahead and get into our segment of Get It Off Our Chest, positive, negative, football, housewives, wine, life. I got to tell you, Katie, I am sweating my ass off right now. So if it has to do with being hot in the summer, in the middle of July, that's when you get it off your chest. But Katie, why don't you go ahead and get it started?
Mine has to do with summer. Last week, Caitlin's Get It Off Her Chest was that she was ready for fall. And my Get It Off My Chest this week is I feel like summer is just going too fast. I feel like I always have summer activities or things that I want to jam pack into the summer months and the warm weather and everything like that. And it just goes so fast that I feel like there are not enough weekends to really do everything. And so 2 things that are, something that I like to do, obviously, in the summer is hit restaurants that I know and I love that specifically have really good outdoor dining to enjoy during the summer. I have not, I'm going to give you guys 2 recommendations. I have not yet hit them this summer, and we're mid-July. So this is like a part of my get it off my chest where I got to like get these in. But my 2 restaurant recommendations, my first one is more of a casual spot. It is Dough in Caldwell. So I love going there year round, but in the summertime, they have a really great back patio. They have a garden. They have a seasonal menu because they always grow their own fresh ingredients. So whatever is good for the season, they make phenomenal summer pies there. It's a pizza place. It's BYOB, Dough in Caldwell. My other one is a little fancier. Maybe you go for a nice occasion. It is in Rutherford. It is called Cafe Matisse. It is my absolute number 1 favorite restaurant in the state of New Jersey. And I will say that I love I'll probably only go there in the summertime because their outdoor patio, you cannot see the street. You cannot see anything except for like being back there. And it feels like you're in an enchanted garden in Europe, and you would not ever believe you were in Rutherford, New Jersey. Summertime, you got to hit it. Cafe Matisse in Rutherford, Dough in Caldwell. And summer, slow down. Thank you.
Slow it down, but it is really hot, so we can get some relief there. I have been to Dough. It is delicious. I'm a huge pizza gal. Some of you guys know they've got delicious pizzas. So good. I have not been to that other restaurant, though, so I will definitely check it out. Of course, as I say, Katie and I have been on sort of a restaurant tour these past couple of weeks. So we'll definitely, I know you've been there, but we can still add it to the restaurant tour list for sure. We could still definitely go. But great suggestions as always. So thank you for delivering those to our audience. So mine is just honestly, it is cracking me the F up this whole week. So I'm reading news off of, this is coming from the New York Post, but there's so many other outlets like talking about it now. So this is where I'm reading off of right now. So apparently, this past week, Zach Wilson, quarterback of the New York Jets, he had a long-term girlfriend, went to BYU, obviously out in Utah. Everyone's, you look in that vibe of that Mormon vibe. You're dating early, you get married early, you're very strict with certain things like that. Long-term girlfriend, she was at the draft, I'm pretty sure, with his whole family. They appear to be broken up, but the interesting thing is that she's now dating the Washington Commanders wide receiver Dax Milne, and that's Zach Wilson's like best friend and like roommate from BYU. So that was just kind of the kicker earlier in the week of that being posted, of like him posting that, her confirming the relationship. And what sparked from that was she thought she was throwing Zach Wilson under the bus, but in reality, she was making Zach Wilson probably the best quarterback in the NFL by her commentary. So apparently someone had called her
a homie hopper.
A homie hopper. I know. I think a homie hopper. And she had claimed that Zach Wilson was indeed the homie hopper because she had accused him of actually cheating on her by sleeping with his mother's best friend. So Zach Wilson's mom, she's not old. I won't even throw that. Like, Zach Wilson's mom is not old. She's very pretty. She's very, but like her best friend. So yeah. Zach Wilson is a 23-year-old boy sleeping with like 45-year-old to 50-year-old women. And apparently it's not just this one lady. It's maybe a couple other women. He is, what they are saying on the streets, he is dogging it out there. So, oh my God, this story has absolutely exploded. It is probably the funniest thing ever, from seeing current NFL players just tweeting this out, calling him the GOAT, all of this stuff. Like, I cannot get over it. It's really funny. I don't know the intricacies of the actual story. So I don't know if I want to say I feel bad for him. I feel bad for this girl. I feel bad for her. Because like all this stuff being thrown out into like the light, like kind of sucks. Like if this really does happen, like if I had found out that someone was cheating on you, sleeping with like an older human being in relation to your parent, like that just like, that's really sucks. Like that really does. But if it is all true and everything like that, she is the one who did bring it out and did tell the world. So this whole backfire thing, I'm not really sure, but this whole thing has been really funny for me to watch.
Off-season entertainment.
I think it really has been. And then the kicker today as well is that Zach Wilson has finally, broken his silence. And he posted to Instagram. Apparently he's been away with a couple of the guys on the team, doing some work. And he was like, oh, reception was really spotty. What did I miss these past couple of days? So, what a caption on your Instagram. Like, I love it. Like, oh my God. But I don't know. Every day I wake up to a new meme about it and it's freaking funny. It's not getting old yet, so keep it coming. But oh God, I just had to get it off my chest that it has been quite the entertainment this week for sure.
It was. As far as entertainment for this upcoming week, or, some of it is tonight, do not miss the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills tonight at 8 p.m. Then we've got Dubai on tonight at 9 p.m. right after. Sunday at 8 p.m. we have the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and we have a date to report for football. We are 22 days away from the NFL Hall of Fame game. It will be technically the first preseason game of the season. It is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And like I said, you can smell football. It's 22 days away. That's like 3 weeks away. We're ready. We cannot wait. We thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We will see you again, I believe, next Wednesday. I think we'll probably be at our normal time again.
I think so.
But in the meantime, enjoy the summer that is moving too quickly. And if you're sad about it, just remember football. And we have always got housewives. So Thank you guys, and hope you have a good night.
Good night. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.